Ah, hello everyone. The Tiefling, a true classic of the D&D world, lighting deviant out of flame and keeping me up at night with that damn spelling. What's there not to love about it? Dare I say nothing, because it is nothing. In today's partial Halloween special, the only thing more terrifying about the Tiefling than the aforementioned spelling, its race abilities. Past the standard medium size, 30 feet of movement, you get it by now. We got a hellish resistance. You get resistance to fire damage. Don't get used to the segments being this short because next we got Infernal Legacy. From the start of the game, you can cast Formancy as a cantrip. From level 3, you can cast Hellish Rebuke, and from level 5, you can cast Darkness. Use Charisma as your casting stat, and can only use the latter two once before a long rest. Now, I would like to ask, has anyone heard, used, or even remotely knows what Formancy is? No? Good. You can use it to manifest some kind of small, completely harmless illusion, like making your voice echo, small tremors, different sounds. Basically, this is just the dramatic entrance spell, and I don't know how I feel about it. On the one hand, it's kinda good that we have an in-game explanation for all these kinds of dramatic moments to help maintain immersion a bit more, kind of like having your cake and eating it too. But on the other hand, well, now that it exists, if you want to have one of those dramatic moments, you need access to the spell. And I do mean any extra flair is covered by this spell. Door slamming shut, thunder in the background, the sound effect. I feel like this is similar to the whole Cardomancer debacle from a while back. Adding something like this into the game automatically adds limitations upon it. And things as basic as a couple sound effects or lightning in the background, nothing more than flavor, do not need limitations. Oh, and the other spells are okay too. Hellish Rebuke is a bit hard to use since you have to take damage beforehand, which can be very unpredictable, but the description, at least of the source I use, seemed to say that it can be any creature that ever damages you, and the damage is pretty pog. Darkness is pretty cool actually. You kinda need an object to make proper use of it, but any rock off the ground will do. Great for escapes. Speaking of dark, oh no. Now, I have explained dark vision in more detail in the last vid, so if you really need it, you can go to here. Or I guess you could read the thingy in the corner, but who can read anymore? Anyway, to put it simply, dim light becomes full light and darkness becomes dim light for you and you alone for a 60-foot radius. I've got personal beef with DK as a DM, mainly because, well, how am I supposed to implement it? It's dim light. This means that, depending on the pedanticness of your table, that could mean that you need to make a roll for everything you try to look at. This pumps in an absolutely bonkers quantity of RNG, which makes it really damn difficult to plan around when you don't even know what info your players will or won't have. Due to party balance, most of the time dark vision will either be at most slightly more convenient or not used at all. I've calmed down, at least for now. My biggest problem with the Tiefling is that it doesn't really have a main ability. As I mentioned before in other videos, an integral part of their kit which the player gets consistency out of. Some sessions straight up won't have any rests whatsoever, so the one thing this race gets, Hellish Rebuke and Darkness, being able to be used once, and that's from level 3. Before that, well, I can't say the Tiefling is just flavor, but the fact that I have to mention that says a lot. Also, what is up with a race ability being hidden behind level? Like, seriously. But I can't give this amount of criticism without some kind of solution. So, how can we improve this? Well, what's the most recognizable element of the Tiefling if not their horns? And honestly, I think the concept of Infernal Legacy is neat, but way too limiting. I mean, devils and fiends can have all matters of variations and powers, and I mean, if the Tiefling ain't the race for cool, super special characters, then I don't know which one is. So how about we go all out on the customization? What if, from the earliest years of their development, different tiefling get these weird markings upon their horns, incomprehensible writing, and symbols etched into their person. What do? Well, there's only one way to find out. Awaken their arcane prowess and learn what cantrip they've been blessed with. What if the Tiefling's player, aside from everything it already has, also gets to choose one cantrip at the start of the game, no matter how outlandish? Now, I recognize there are like one and a half problems with this. First, there's probably a myriad of exploits available with spells and ability that probably shouldn't go together. Personally, I don't see this as a problem. If something breaks or otherwise screw over the game, just talk with your DM or player to stop. Like, the whole point is fun. If it's not being fun, remove it. Second, and the real deal, is that it drops an absolute bombshell of a choice on any new players. 50 or so spell and you gotta pick one with party balance, flavor, setting, the needs of your own character. This change becomes very unfriendly to new players. But to the min-maxing, Mountain Dew chugging, absolute vermins part of the D&D community, the sheer chaos, the possibilities this brings, they're just too good to pass up. I recommend if you try and introduce it into your game, that you at least offer and or request at least one chance to replace the cantrip at a later date, just in case. I feel this ultimately fits the most appealing aspect of the Tiefling, how customizable and edgy it can be. Speaking of customization, this is usually the flavor part of the video, but I've been having a damn hard time coming up with anything that fits these abilities without just being a pre-existing interpretation of a Tiefling. So I'll just do some rapid fire flavor for every ability for you to play around with. Hellish Rebuke could be used by a martial character as them literally catching the attack. If you need to explain the range, say you're catching whatever Kamehameha your opponent's sending at you and throwing it right back. Darkness could be something like Spore instead of just a lightless radius. You could also say the spores or any other liquid you secrete irritates the eyes or otherwise disorientates people to explain the complete lack of sight. Hellish Resistance could be nigh anything really, rock skin, strong scales, just general magic pastelness, you name it. Dark Vision could come from bug eyes or cat eyes, could also work as seismic sense from Avatar or maybe air sense as a variety of that. Changes in ki and other life, magic, whatever energy that living things emanate in your world also works. And lastly, Fomancy could be used to recreate any of the following sound effects. And with that humble quantity of oral sexual harassment, I think I'll be ending this episode. I think this might have been my most ambitious project just off of sheer scale. In any case, hope you all enjoyed it, but the content machine never stops. So I shall be seeing you all next episode. Until then, bye bye.